One of the most terrifying diseases to strike the world in the first half of the 20th century was polio. Poliomyelitis, resulting in infantile paralysis, came to New Zealand in epidemics about 5 years apart. It brought great fear to the general population, closing schools, theatres, and other gatherings where this contagious virus might be caught. Hundreds of children died and thousands of others were paralysed in some measure. Many were affected for the rest of their lives. The Wilson home in Takapuna was donated in 1937 by Mr. and Mrs. Wilson as a place to care for and rehabilitate many of these children. This stately mansion is situated high on the cliffs of St Leonard's Beach, surrounded by trees and gardens. The wide verandas were ideal for laying out those with polio to benefit from the sun and the sea breezes. Today it still provides a range of services for children with disabilities. Then in 1955, Dr. Jonas Salk discovered a vaccine for polio. It was brought to New Zealand the following year, 1956, and through that and the subsequent Sabin vaccine, fresh cases of polio have been eradicated in our country.
It is celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Salk Vaccine. We have had many people that were young children that actually lived and had treatment of polio at the Wilson home.
Yet in a strange irony, 90 polio survivors, spouses and family gathered to give thanks at the chapel service for the 50th anniversary of this historic vaccine. A vaccine which was discovered too late to benefit any of them. They also gave thanks to God for the place where they were nurtured so many years ago, and once again enjoyed the beautiful surroundings.
Over 50 years on, we are now struggling with post-polio syndrome, or the after effects of polio. Some of us are on sticks and crutches, some of us use wheelchairs or scooters, but we are all very thankful that our modern generations don't have to face the agony and trials that we went through with polio as children.
So it gives me great pleasure to return here today to join everyone in a service of thanksgiving for the discovery of the Salk vaccine, which has been so successful in eradicating the dreadful polio epidemics in New Zealand and around the world. I was the eldest of 4 children and I was the only one to contract polio. I was admitted to Auckland Hospital at first on New Year's Day in 1949. After several months of intensive treatment, I was transferred across the harbour to this wonderful place of freedom and fun. I look back with affection and gratitude on the years I spent here, much of the time confined to a spinal chair, but I was never bored. The days were fully occupied with schoolwork and physio. Among the blessings granted to me were the lifelong friendships that developed among the girls who were in my ward. I am grateful for their support and understanding as we each struggle with the late effects of polio, or PPS as it's known.
And I was here in the Wilson home from 1946 to 1949, almost 3 years. I got polio when I was 6 months old in Sydney, Australia. And my family and grandparents and 2 aunties, we all got on a ship and sailed to New Zealand right at the end of the war so that I could come here to the Wilson home. The staff were quite excited about this little baby coming from Australia, that they all lined up to see me as I arrived. I really do give thanks to the Lord today for the beginning of my life was here in this Wilson home. And my polio experience may have looked like a disaster or a tragedy to most people, but it has turned out to be my strength. My weaknesses have actually become my strength. And really, it's not me, but it's Him, it's Jesus, who has put my life together so many times after one seeming tragedy, one occurrence, one thing after another. Jesus has been there to bandage, to heal and put things together again. And now here I am back where I started, back here at the Wilson home 60 years later, back with extra braces and extra sticks and putting on the appendages we threw away many years ago, and now I'm back in a wheelchair to try and keep myself mobile. But hey, I know who's holding me up. I know that both physically and emotionally, the weaknesses I have, that the care that I can rely on in Jesus to keep raising me up, picking me up when I fall, comforts me and encourages me and keeps going, and I keep going another day. The older I grow, the more thankful I am that the Lord is with me for another day. And Lord, I thank you particularly today as we remember the 50th anniversary of the Salk vaccine, that it was discovered. Lord, how thankful we are that generations born now do not need to have polio visited upon them in another epidemic.
Following lunch, they enjoyed a day of storytelling and reminiscing about their daily lives at the very home where they had been rehabilitated so many years ago.
Oh, what struck me was the stories. There's no doubt about the stories were absolutely amazing, and what young people endured at that time. And I think we just take huge inspiration from that. But now finding, well, they're older people, but there's still the young spirit is still there as they remembered, and that was just fantastic and fabulous.
Memories have been talked about, happy times, funny times, and just seeing people that they have not seen for many, many years. A lot have walked around the most beautiful grounds of the Wilson home. They are very, very beautifully groomed, and the gardens and trees are magnificent. It has been a beautiful day, the weather has been beautiful, and the celebrations of the 50th anniversary of that Salk vaccine has been very, very well honoured here in New Zealand, Auckland today.